Good morning and welcome to our adult program of Herbology and Harry Potter. So this morning we're going to talk a little about herbs, about some of the books the library has that you might be interested in, and then we're going to make some bath bombs. We did this program with the teens a couple of days ago, and I wanted your program to be separate because there are differences in maybe what we might be interested in. The teens were very interested, of course, in the Harry Potter connection. But I'm thinking maybe some of our adults are really into gardening, or maybe you're into fiction that contains herbs. So we're going to start there this morning. So first I'll start with our very newest book that we just got at the library. And this is The Modern Herbal Dispensary. So this talks about herbs and lots of things you can do with them and some of the things they're good for health-wise. And I will talk a little bit about that with our Harry Potter stuff, but there's additional information in this book. We also have the complete book of herbs. Whoops, sorry, my books don't want to stand up today. I'm going to lay it down. We have herbs from home. We have growing herbs. And we have Malcolm Hillier's The Herb Garden. And some of the books focus more on the gardening aspects. Some focus more on what you can do with the herbs. This is the herbs from home, growing and using herbs. Obviously, we use herbs a lot in our cooking, but there are a lot of health benefits from certain herbs. And as you learn more about those, hopefully they can help you deal with any health issues you have. And that's where this one really comes in handy. I'm going to start off the first part of the lesson was the potions from Harry Potter, and they were made with herbs. So the first one was called the Wit Sharpening Potion with Ginger. And it gives a quote from the book. Some of you will benefit from today's assignment, Wit Sharpening Potions. Perhaps you should begin immediately. And that was Severus Snape in Harry Potter. The Harry Potter recipe for this potion is ginger, armadillo bile, and scarab beetles. So most of you are familiar with ginger. This is the rhizome, or the root of the ginger, that gives us most of the benefit of our flavorings and other uses. So it is a tropical plant, and it has green-purple flowers and the underground stem, the rhizome. It's used as a flavoring or fragrance in foods, beverages, soaps, and cosmetics. And it's been used for thousands of years because ancient Sanskrit, Chinese, Greek, Roman, and Arabic texts all discuss the use of ginger for health. In Asian medicine, dry ginger was used to treat stomach aches, diarrhea, and nausea. Today, ginger is a dietary supplement for post-surgery nausea, nausea caused by motion sickness, chemotherapy, and pregnancy. It's also used to treat rheumatoid arthritis and osteoarthritis, which I feel like our adults would be more interested in than our teens. Back to the wit sharpening part. It's suggested that maybe ginger wasn't wit sharpening, but it might be an adjuvant. An adjuvant is defined as assisting or aiding, or a substance that aids another, such as an auxiliary remedy. So ginger, maybe mixed with some other herbs, actually can be wit sharpening. And on your papers that are in your craft bag that you can pick up, it gives you the citation for where that fact was found. Speaking of that, I did find a few other things when I was doing research. So ginger has antioxidants that help in the prevention of aging and degenerative diseases. So hypertension, non-insulin dependent diabetes, ginger also can be effective in helping with those. And where I did the research, you can research there too. On the Hondo Library website, under My Account, Catalog, and Resources. When you click on that, it brings up a separate page. And on that page, there's something called text share databases. The text share databases are resources that you can access for information that has been verified and is reliable, unlike a lot of the things you might find when you do a browser search through Ask or Bing or Google or any of those. So when you click on the text share databases, you will need to enter your card number, and it's usually just the last 6 of the numbers on your card, and a password. Your password is the first letter of your first name, the first 3 of your last name, but all of those must be in capitals. If you don't have your card number, you can always call us at the library. We'll be more than happy to provide it so that you can search for and find the information you need. So those databases are very helpful. There are about 6 or 7 different ones that are related to medical. But if you're looking for things on herbs and how that relates to medicine and health, your best bet is probably the database called Alt Health Watch. And you can search for that by name under Resources A to Z. And once you're there, you might want to scroll through and see what other databases are available, because there may be other things you want to research that the databases would be helpful for. Okay, the next potion that was discussed in Harry Potter was the elixir to induce euphoria with peppermint. And the quote from the book: "Euphoria, I take it, and what's that I smell? Maybe you've added just a sprig of peppermint, haven't you? Unorthodox, but what a stroke of inspiration, Harry. Of course, that would tend to counterbalance the occasional side effects of excessive singing and nose tweaking." And that was said by Horace Slughorn in the book. The recipe in the book called for peppermint, shrivel fig, porcupine quills, soporiferous beans, and wormwood. Some of those things actually are available. Wormwood is an actual plant. Susan Wittig Alpert talks about it in one of her books. But some of those are made up and imaginary in Harry Potter's world. So peppermint is actually a natural cross between 2 types of mint, water mint and spearmint. And it grows throughout Europe and North America. Both the leaves themselves, which look like this, and the essence or oil have been used for several thousand years for health purposes. Records from Greece, Rome, and Egypt all mention it. But what's very strange is that even though it's mentioned, it wasn't recognized officially as a different type of mint, a different plant, until the 1700s. Peppermint is a common flavoring in food, and peppermint oil is used for a pleasant fragrance in soaps and cosmetics. Today, peppermint is used as a dietary supplement for digestive problems, common cold, headaches, and other conditions. Peppermint oil is used also topically for headaches, muscle aches, and itching. Slughorn in the quote suggests that it might be an antidote to other ingredients in the elixir. So that was something that we might need a little more research. Our medical fact is that antidote is an agent that neutralizes a poison or counteracts its effects. So as adults, many of you probably are aware of peppermint and its effects on digestive issues. I know that was one of the first things that my grandmother taught me when I had my baby. When she would have an upset tummy or colic, we would boil water, melt a peppermint in it, and give her the peppermint water and it generally would help soothe her tummy and help go on. So a lot of things that are talked about in what we call old wives' tales, those are things that people learned over hundreds of thousands of years and passed down generation to generation. And a lot of them do have to do with herbs and how to treat common illnesses, because our modern medical system has not really been in place that long, where there's modern medicines, penicillins, vaccines, antibiotics. So people treated their family and friends with herbs. Another fact I found about peppermint, and I told this to the teens, peppermint is shown to actually affect alertness and focus. So as we age and our memories get a little less, and a lot of that is due to we have so much in our brains, sometimes it's hard to focus in on that thing we need to. So maybe putting a little peppermint oil in a humidifier and having that in the air in your home can help you with your alertness and focus. The last of the potions from Harry Potter is the forgetfulness potion with valerian. And the quotes from the book are Hermione Granger's asking, "What are the 3 most crucial ingredients in a forgetfulness potion?" Ronald Weasley, Hermione's and Harry's friend, says, "I forget." So whether he's being sarcastic or whether he truly forgot, I'll leave that up to you when you read the book. In the book, the ingredients of the forgetfulness potion are valerian, Lethe river water, and mistletoe berries. So valerian, and I have a picture here of the flowers of the valerian, is a plant that is native to Europe and Asia, but it does also grow in North America. It was used medicinally in ancient Greek and Rome, and Hippocrates, the father of the Hippocratic Oath for the medical field, wrote about the uses of valerian. It's been known to treat nervousness, trembling, headaches, and heart palpitations. And today it's used as a dietary supplement for some of those same things: insomnia, anxiety, depression, and menopausal symptoms. So, is it possible there's a connection between sleepiness and forgetfulness? Maybe. So in the forgetfulness potion, it's possible that the valerian acts as a tranquilizer. And a tranquilizer is a drug that promotes tranquility, hence the beginning, tranquilizer, tranquility, by calming and pacifying with minimal sedation. Again, I gave you the citation for that. And just remember that you can use those databases to research things like this on your own. If you need help, the library staff are more than willing to help walk you through those things. So this site is all our nonfiction books about herbs. But the herbs are actually mentioned quite often in fiction. And we have several series here that I want you to know about. So Outlander is a series by Diana Gabaldon, and she writes about, it starts with Outlander's the first book. It starts with a nurse, Claire Beauchamp, who had served in World War II. And when she comes home and marries, she's living in Scotland and goes to one of the stone rings. Well, she passes through a stone in the ring and travels back in time 200 years. So she's back in the 1740s, where she meets James Fraser, a Scottish laird. And the series goes through their life together. She travels back and forth through time a couple of times. Eventually, she becomes a doctor in modern America. But she has always loved James, and in the 1960s, after her daughter is grown, she decides she wants to travel back again. So she passes through the stones again, back to the 1760s. And the rest of the series follows her and James through their life, through a time in France, through their travels to the Caribbean islands, and then eventually to colonial North America. Because Claire was a doctor in the modern world, she becomes what's known as a healer. And a lot of what she does, she has studied and learned herbs and how she can use those when she doesn't have modern medical techniques. So there's a lot of talk throughout the series about her treatment of people and the use of various plants and plant products. We have here Susan Wittick Albert and her series, the China Bales series. So China Bales is a retired lawyer. She got out of law and she opened a herb shop in a fictional town in Texas, but it sounds kind of like it might be between Austin and San Antonio. And each one of her titles focuses on a different plant or herb. So this one's Bleeding Hearts, this one's Wormwood. The Read and Discuss Rad Texas group just finished reading the first one of this series called Time of Death, Time, T-H-Y-M-E. So you learn about herbs through that. This is an older series, Jean Aoul, The Clan of the Cave Bear. And so this is the prehistoric novel, well, not prehistoric, but a novel about prehistoric times, back in the time of the cave people and the early indigenous peoples and their tribes. And the main character in this also uses herbs and plants to treat herself, her family, and friends. So it's very interesting if you would like to read some fiction about herbs. Now we're going to make some bath bombs. Again, I did this with the teens a couple of days ago, and they have to dry a bit. So this is the star-shaped bath bombs I made for them. I did learn something during this. Humidity is a big factor when you're making these. So I'm going to lay out some parchment paper to dump these out on, because I don't know if you can see this, but these were flat when I put them in. The humidity caused them to swell, so they're maybe not as pretty as I would like, but they are made. I'm going to just kind of punch those out of the silicone molds. So here is my star-shaped bath bomb. Like I said, the bottom is a little puffed up because of the humidity. So when you go to make yours and you're drying them, make sure you find a place that's not quite so humid to store them. We did end up moving these into a warmer in the kitchen. The warmer was turned off, but it did help them dry with a little less problem. And what happens if they don't dry, you get all these crumbles left over. So I've got all these punched out now where I can reuse this mold if I want to. In your kit, you should have almost all the ingredients you will need to make these at home. Again, you can come pick up one of the craft kits here at the library, and they will have baking soda, Epsom salts, cornstarch, citric acid, coconut oil, your essential oil, and food coloring. So obviously at home you're going to need a bowl and a whisk. You can have a little bowl. I'm using a jar for the liquid ingredients. You'll need water, and of course your measuring utensils. So let's get started. We're going to first take the baking soda, that's 8 ounces, that you'll find in the food department, of course, in the grocery store or Walmart. So I just empty that into my bowl. Then Epsom salts, a 1/4 cup of those, and it'll be pre-measured in your package. Pour that in. It's also a 1/4 cup of cornstarch. Oh, the Epsom salts in Walmart is in the pharmacy area, right in front of the pharmacy. Ask if you need help finding it. The cornstarch, again, that's 4 ounces, and I've pre-measured that in your packet. Right. And citric acid, and you'll find that in the canning and preserve section in the household goods aisle. Again, it's pre-measured. You should have 4 ounces of that. And then what you want to do is you want to mix those ingredients together very thoroughly. So the whisk just helps you get those all mixed up. Make sure there's no lumps when you finish. It should be nice and smooth, nice smooth. Here, we'll move some of this out of the way where you can see better maybe. So it should be a nice smooth mixture when you got it all mixed up. All right. I gave you the solid coconut oil because it was easier to package for the kids. If you're making these at home later, you may want to use the liquid. But in order to make this work easily for us today, you can just take the solid, squish it down, make it nice and soft before you unpack it. And probably might actually be easier, and I didn't bring scissors. If you clipped it and squeezed it in. So I'm gonna have to do it the hard way and scrape it out into my jar. You can use other oils. It doesn't have to be coconut oil. It says vegetable oil. I just thought the coconut oil would give it a little bit creamier texture than plain old vegetable oil, because I know lots of hand lotions and soothing ointments use the coconut oil because it is a slightly creamier texture. All right, I think I've almost got it all squeezed out. This is 2½ tablespoons your coconut oil is. All right. So now I have my coconut oil. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a tablespoon of water and put that in. Oh, there's my teaspoon. Okay. And then I need 2 teaspoons of my essential oil. I gave you guys a little jar, so if there's not quite 2 teaspoons in them, I do apologize. We were trying to use up some supplies that we had, so hopefully there's enough there for you. So I'm going to add 2 teaspoons. Today I'm using eucalyptus oil. Eucalyptus also is really good. The scent of it helps open your air passages. And then you need 4 to 5 drops of food coloring. So you can use whatever food coloring you would like. I'm going to use yellow because I'm making some yellow roses for Texas. And just remember that fewer drops, a lighter color, more drops will be a little darker color. And then we should be able to put the lid on and shake it up. Now, since it is the solid oil, you may need to actually do some stirring too, but I'm going to shake it as much as I can. Try to get it to blend together well. It's actually doing pretty well. Like I said, by squeezing the oil and squishing it down, it probably did at least decently. Okay. Now the trick to get the jar back open. I closed it very tightly. Now then, you're going to take your liquid ingredients and add them a spoonful at a time and mix them into your dry ingredients. You don't want to add it too fast because the bath bombs are built kind of on the idea of the old volcanoes we used to make with baking soda and vinegar, whereas the baking soda and the citric acid acts in the place of vinegar. When you add water, that's when it reacts and makes the kind of explosion, the bomb part of the bath bomb. So we want to add our liquid ingredients slowly and mix after each one. And this is probably the longest part of the process of making the bath bombs. If when you're adding the mixture starts to fizz, mix as quickly as you can to prevent that from happening. And again, just add a teaspoonful or so at a time. Now, when I did this with the teens the other day, I did end up, I guess maybe I mismeasured just a little, and I did end up having to add a second batch. I put a little more water in and shook my jar and kind of cleaned out the dregs. And when I did that, I did have a little bit of fizzing because it was more water than other ingredients. The coconut oil and the essence, your herbal essence, your essential oil, kept the plain water from doing that. But once I got down where it was more water than other ingredients, it did tend to fizz just a little before I got it. So I'm mixing it in a spoon at a time, and it is starting to clump just a little. And that's what you want to get it to that stage. Let's see if I can do that. So I'm not sure if you can tell here, but it is starting to granulate a little into little clumps. Because what you want is it to be moist enough that you can pack it into your mold, but not so moist that it goes ahead and has the chemical reaction. Again, add just a little bit. I'm going to add one more teaspoon and shake this up. Try to get all the remaining bits of oil and essence. And then this will be where I have to worry about whether it's going to fizz or not. Hopefully, if I'm careful, it won't fizz too much. And I'm just dropping it in a drop or two at a time to try to get the rest of it to clump up. All right, now it's nice and granular and starting to clump. All right. So you should be able to just take it in a clump, like so. Then you pack it into your molds. And you can use, again, we did not include those in your kit, but I got this pretty rose mold. Now it's very detailed, so this one, it'll take longer to dry. But Walmart and Dollar Tree have, Dollar General have different molds. Any of the silicone molds will work for you. So I brought you pictures. We also found these ice cube trays, which have the silicone bottoms. So you can try that. You just need to have enough molds to put all your mixture in. So I'm going to start with my rose one. And you basically pack it in as tight as you can. You want it to pack down nice and tight. And I'm going to just fill all of them up. I guess I could have added a little more food color to make these yellows a little brighter. I've always loved yellow roses. My grandmother had a yellow rose bush in her yard when I was a little girl and lived next door to her. And I have always loved yellow roses. Which maybe that was a sign even when I lived in Oklahoma that I was going to end up in Texas, huh? Sometimes you look back and see things in your life and you go, that was the plan all along, I guess. So again, you get it packed down nice and firm, like so. You just fill them all up. Then you're going to leave leave them and let them dry. Again, if you can find some place less humid, put it somewhere where you can keep the humidity away from it so that it dries well. But even so, those are pretty, just because the bottom's a little lumpy. And these are for your use at home. I mean, obviously, if you were making it for a gift for a friend, you definitely would want to make sure you have the nice smooth bottom to it when you finished. And now I'm going to try one of these because I do think these will work. If the ice cubes will pop out from the bottom push like that, I think our bath bombs will. And again, just pack it down really tight. It's like you're packing brown sugar. Pack it down really tight and then fill it up the rest of the way. Yeah, those look like those are going to work really well. And those would make you just nice little bath bombs when they finish. Well, thank you for joining us today for our Herbology in Harry Potter program. We have a couple of more programs. We have another travel program where we're going to plan a trip, and we have a Harry Potter escape room that we're going to be doing. That one will be done with the teens again. So have a good day, and we'll see you next time.